What is the first thing that comes to mind about being 100 years old?
I lived a long time and I saw a lot of things and I did a lot of things and I got a lot of experience and a lot of memories.
So when you look back over your life, do you have any regrets?
No regrets. I lived a relatively calm and peaceful and humble life, conservative life. Most of what I have decided to do was for the good. I've taken forks in the road, and I believe my most important fork in the road during my lifetime was 65 years ago when I moved from Philadelphia to Huntsville, Alabama, and I think that was a correct correct turn in the fork in the road, and I lived a happy life here. My wife and family lived a happy life here, and we are contented. I don't know of any things that I would have done different.
What do you think was the most important thing that you accomplished in the last 100 years?
Raising a happy, contented family, including my children and grandchildren, etc.
Does that include your son who voted for Hillary Clinton?
Well, I've been thinking seriously about that, and I was thinking of exiting him from the will.
So what is the best part about being 100?
The best part about me, I understand you can filter these things, saying anything I please and doing anything I please. But I've done that all my life without the F word.
Yeah.
My wife has always told me what to do, where to do it, when to do it, and how to do it, and why to do it. And I listened to her, and I just did as I pleased. And I did as I darn pleased. I did it my way.
You've seen a lot of things. I mean, the car and even the airplane was in its infancy when you were a child.
Yes.
Is there any one invention in particular that amazed you the most?
Television did not exist when I was a kid. And I recall living in downtown Philadelphia when my father got a radio, and it was so exciting to sit around the radio and listen to the radio like Eddie Cantor, but to listen to people like that and just not seeing a picture but hearing the words, and they were so enamored with the ability to get sound through the air. And then it was shortly after the war that television came into being. I think it was already existing prior or during the war, but it came into commercial existence after the war. They had televisions in the store windows of some stores, and people would gather around the windows a certain time of the evening to watch Milton Berle in the Texaco Star Theater.
One of the biggest things that changed the world was the computer. You've made the expression to me many times that that you put the man on the moon with a slide rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can you just tell me in 2 or 3 sentences? How do you feel that the computer has changed the world?
Being an old slide rule engineer, I knew how to work the thing pretty good. And when the computers came into being, I had my hesitations. I give credit for the good things it does, and I chew the hell out of it when it does things like tell me a lot of things I don't need to know. And it goes on, whether it's on a telephone or whether they sending me stuff through the mail and put it out through the computers. A human is not involved, and I figure that I'm always talking to a dummy, on the expression.
You know, you've seen 100 years of history. How do you think that the world has changed?
I think from the viewpoint of being a better or worse world today, I think we have better health techniques where the medical profession is well advanced and ways of curing various ills. But yet, on the other hand, we got crazy people in this world like Vladimir Putin and the guy from Iran who think their way, and unless you have people in this world who will respect each other and be nice to each other and vow not to hurt each other, we're going to have these crazies in the world that will create chaos and problems, if not war, the threat of war. And I don't like to hear those things.
You ever worry about what this world is going to be like for your grandchildren and great-grandchildren? You ever think about that?
I think about it, but I don't worry about it. There ain't much I can do about it. But I can hope that it will be a better world than what it is today. It's not a bad world, depending on the individual and how the individual lives. But it's up to the individual and how he goes through life and what he does, and the people he communicates with will be how the world will react to each other. And if we got crazy people in this world, and we do, then there's going to be problems. My father once said that as long as there are people in this world, we're going to have wars.
Somebody once said that the goal in life is that the world was a little better place because you were in it.
I like to think so. All my life, I've practiced what I preached. I try to be a humble person. I try to be a nice person. I try to think of other people. I tried to be helpful where I could. I followed the Scout Oath and the Scout Law faithfully, and I could recite the Scout Oath and Scout Law, and it repeats all of the things that I am enamored with, like a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 12 laws. In all my honor, I will do my duty to do my best to my country and to my fellow people, and to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. I believe all those things.
I think you not only believe them, I think you follow them.
Regarding my son and his daughter, I briefly spoke to Marla, and I told her I just don't understand what the hell's going on, but it can't be that important that it can't be resolved. But it's not for me to say. I'm not going to worry about it. I know what I would like to see, but if that's the way people want things to be within their lives, that's up to them. But in my life, I'm not going to let it bother me.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the longevity of life, is you don't let things bother you. And take it as it is. You do the best you can with what you got. You play the cards that you're dealt.
And right now, the card you've been dealt is Mom is not doing well. I look around and all these pictures of the two of you when you were 40 years old. And
Arlene calls this place a museum.
yeah, it is a museum.
It is. And it's, I would say, 9% your mother's work. All the pictures in the albums of life.
Yeah.
You can go through there and see life.
Yes.
For the past, how many years we married? Almost 75 years that we're living together.
Talking about being in the Army, what was the difference between Howard before he got shipped off and Howard when he came home?
Well, wartime, of course, is an unusual time for any young man. Well, of course, there's women involved, but not so much in that war as there is today. I was young in my thoughts, And whatever training I got and whatever they told me to do, I did it. That they told me that would be your easiest way of life in the Army, is do whatever you're told and don't mess around with the sergeant. And I did that. So I never got in trouble in the Army. And as far as what it meant to me is that it was a part of my life. I didn't think of it as a war. All I know about wars is what I saw in the movies in those days. I saw pictures of the soldiers in the trenches getting shot at and stuff like that. But in this war, fortunately, I was with the Army Air Corps and didn't fight in the trenches. I was never shot at directly, but maybe indirectly. If you want to compare what I was like at the age of 17 or 18 and the age of 21, by the time I got home from the Army, I was a young high school student with no thoughts but messing around with girls and taking care of my schoolwork. And by the time I got out, I had the 3 years in the military, wartime. And when I got home, I don't think I was much different than when I went in. As far as thinking and my thoughts of what's right and what's wrong, I still had the same conservative ways of thinking. You have to realize that those times in the 30s and the 40s were the Depression years, and that had an effect on the way I lived and followed me throughout my life, including my wartime years, where I tried to save money. I was frugal. I think I only got about, when I was overseas, I think I got $50 a month. But I was frugal enough that out of the $50, I had automatically taken out $18.75 to buy a war bond every month to send home, that someday in the future I might use it, which I did.
What was it like going through the Depression?
That was a different type of life then. There again, I must give credit to my father and mother, who also at that time, within their means, provided a place for us to live, a place with heat, a place with food. And it was the Depression years and the days of the soup lines where people would stand in line to get food that was handed out. And Roosevelt was in office in 1932, and he changed a lot of those things and said there'll never be people standing in soup lines anymore. And he's the guy who created Social Security.
Do you remember anything about how it personally affected you, or did your parents pretty much shield you from it?
It affected me in that we got our first radio. My father brought it home. We put it up on a mantle, and everybody would gather around it and listen to the radio. Food, my mother went down to the local butcher and picked up whatever meat or chicken she wanted directly from the butcher, who chopped it up or prepared it for her the way she wanted, brought it home, and she cooked it right there and then. And in the small kitchen in the back of the store. And we had we didn't have a refrigerator, we had an ice box. And a guy would come around with an ice truck selling pieces of ice to fit into your particular refrigerator.
Was life any different for you because of the Depression, or were you pretty much shielded from it?
Well, using those words, I was pretty much shielded from it. They gave me whatever I wanted or whatever I needed.
Did you see your father having to go through anything unusual at the time?
Well, things got tight during the Depression, and he was running out of money. And there were times that He had to pay bills. He didn't have the money for it. And the bank teller in those days called him up on the phone and told him, "Hey, Bill, you're running short of money here." And he, had a good relationship. And my father ran over to the bank, which is 2 or 3 blocks away, to put some cash in there to cover the checks, things like that. But one time, I have to say, we lived near Washington Avenue, which was where the railroad went by, and it went by with coal cars on it. And my father went down there sometime, and he picked the coal that fell off the cars and fell on the ground. He picked them up in a bucket or a bag and brought them home, so we should have coal to put into the coal furnace before we had an oil furnace. The official depression, I think, was in 1929, is when the stock market crashed.
What were your living accommodations?
My parents had a storefront in the business section of Philadelphia, a small storefront, and in the back of the store, he laid off a wall there, a partition, in which we had a kitchen, and the place where we sat down and ate, and whatever we wanted to do. That was a private, and then in front was the store. Upstairs on the second floor were the bedrooms. We had one bedroom for me and my brother, and we were close to each other, but there was one bedroom, and we had one room. We wanted to be modern, that my mother made into a living room, so we had a couch in there and a chair in there, and I had a card table in there that I did my homework on, and my mother and father lived in the front room, which faced South Street, where the trolley car went by at nighttime every half hour or hour, but it ran all night long, the trolley car, but they got used to that.
So how many bathrooms were 4 people sharing?
One bathroom.
So what did you think the first time you moved into this home here in Huntsville, Alabama? You think about the comparison to how your kids were living compared to how you live.
Oh yeah, well, it was even more so before I left Philadelphia, and my father was amazed at it because living in Philadelphia, I don't know, remember that row house we lived in?
7124 Large Street.
What, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms on the top floor, and we had a living room and a dining room. And man, that was, compared to our days, it was a big house, that row house, which cost me $10,000. And my father was still living on South Street, and then of course he had this woman he was living with after my mother passed away. And they lived in there with one bathroom on the second floor. So every time my father had to go to the bathroom, he didn't feel like going up to the second floor to go pee. We had a backyard, and we had a water pipe and a drain, and he'd pee in the drain. It just was convenient and easy. But we did what we had to do.
And then when you moved here, did you ever think back to where you were?
Well, I think back to it, and I said, well, that's an improvement we made over life. We're living better than I lived when I was a kid.
And then your son goes and he builds a home where the master suite is as big as this entire house. Was it pretty much part of your plan to get married and have a family, or did that all just kind of get sprung on you?
Well, of course. Generally speaking, for the average normal person, that was the thing to do. You married a woman married a man. It was man and woman raising a family. That was a general thought, a general attitude.
In retrospect, did you make the right decision?
Yes, I did.
You're sure of that?
I often joke about getting a divorce, and you support me on it. But down deep under, she's a loving woman. She's in her youth. She was young and voluptuous and ravishing. and a woman of my desires. I always kidded her about looking like Liz Taylor, which is, if you're familiar with Liz Taylor, was a compliment.
Yeah, but as time takes away the physical attributes, what do you have left with her that you still love?
Well, like I say, those physical attributes you talk about is part of nature. If you get older, it falls in the past. I love her is about her devotion and love and consideration of other people and maintaining a relationship with family members and her children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren and any stranger is a friend to her. And like I said, we're still living together and the feelings are mutual. And I know you're supposed to think of the other person, but I think that's a certain amount of bullshit that she should sometimes think of herself and her own well-being.
So she's always thinking about other people.
She's always thinking about other people and always telling me what to do and how to do it and where to do it and when to do it and why to do it. And to this day, she's still doing the same thing. As soon as she was feeling better, she was checking me over to see what I was wearing.
And what is it you say about her? She's so nice.
Oh, she's so damn good, she's nauseating.